What are the 19 activities of software product managers? That's what we're about to discuss. Many times I've heard product managers discuss what their responsibilities are or should be. These 19 activities may provide some clarity for us. Learn which ones you already do and what you're missing as a professional software product manager. Sharing them with us is Nishant Parikh. He's a versatile professional who also merges diverse academic backgrounds in computer science and product management. He is the Director of Product Management at MasterCard, where he steers strategic vision and fosters innovative software solutions. He has also been researching the discipline of product management as a PhD candidate at Capital Technology University. Listeners, if you are listening to just what we're saying and you also want to watch the video version or watch it instead of just listening, simply go to our new YouTube channel. Search for Product Mastery Now on YouTube to be able to find that. It is a new channel, and I'm trying to get some more people over there to make it easier for others to find it as well. That helps the YouTube algorithm. So I appreciate you checking that out. Let's jump in and learn the 19 key activities of software product managers.
How can you unlock your full potential as a product manager? We're sharing the product management insights you need. They are based on the 7 research-backed knowledge areas for product mastery. You'll learn to create products customers love, enhance your influence, and elevate your career. Welcome to Product Mastery Now, hosted by Dr. Chad McAllister, product management professor, practitioner, and your guide.
Nishant, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Chad, for having me on your show.
So at MasterCard, you're certainly involved in a lot of software projects, software product development. I'm curious, what was the motivation to investigate the key activities of a software product manager?
Well, I'll start a little bit about my background, how I got into the product management, and what motivated me to do this kind of research. So it's been like a 20 plus years of experience in technology and product management. But if we just talk about product management, it's been 6 years. And when I joined product management, I started with really a product development group where I was doing a kind of a high level solutioning of a product, maybe writing a features and epic and all those
Mm.
things. And in the next job, I was working as a product manager where I was doing more about the go to market activities, a different role. The next switch I did in a MasterCard acquisition company. It was a small company and where I was doing everything, starting from the product development to product management, writing stories to epics, features, everything all together. And now I'm a part of a MasterCard Foundry team, still a product manager, but doing a different job in terms of innovation, ideation. So I was all confused in the product management space. What is my key roles and responsibilities, right? So that's what motivated me to go into the deeper dive into this field, discipline to evaluate what should be done as a product manager. What is my key responsibilities? What key activities I have to perform? And that's why I started my PhD journey to
Mm-hmm.
understand those evolution of a product management, which started in 1931. Now I understand better because it's like a 93 years of journey, or maybe 94, maybe I'm not saying, yeah, and how it evolved from a small role to a more strategic role across these years, and we
Mm-hmm.
are still struggling with these roles, right? As per the research, most of the PMs are leaving job because they do not have enough clarity on their roles and
Mm.
they get frustrated. And PMs, which include the product manager, product leaders, and innovators, all these groups, they have a quite overlapping roles and responsibilities. And if you do not have a clarity who is going to do what, it is going to create a lot of confusion, frustration within the organization. So it is very crucial to understand this overall landscape in terms of key activities. That's what motivated me to deep dive into this field. And not only that, we have a lot of frameworks in the market for the product management, which is for the large organization mainly, but that really doesn't tell what product managers do, right? There are, like in my organization, there are 100 activities defined for a product manager, and one person cannot do that activity. So
Right.
it is really crucial we understand the each role of product management and when we define who is going to do what.
Very
So that's
good.
why I came up with this 19 activities who is specific to product management. There is no overlap with the product marketing, product sales, go to
Hmm.
market, no confusion. This is what product managers do as per the research.
Very good. Yeah, there's a lot there, right? Product managers, we are often pulled upon in many different directions. If something needs to get done, oh, go ask the product manager, right? It has something to do with product. So we find ourselves doing things we probably shouldn't be doing. A list of 19 still is quite a few things. And I'm curious what's on this list, which is what we're going to find out. We might not get through them all, but we're going to dive in. Also, I appreciate you sharing that product management is not a new thing, right? Around since the 19s. There at P&G got its foundings. And so even though it has reemerged or kind of emerged as one of the go-to job titles in the last couple of decades, especially in the software world, we have a big body of knowledge, a lot of history to draw upon. I'm curious what you have found then in your research and how you have formulated these 19 activities. So let's dive in and take us through as many as you can.
Yeah, so if we talk about the body of knowledge, right, the we even within the research, I found a different body of knowledge. One is obviously we
Sure.
have from PDMA. I love it. And there is one more from this ISPMA, if you know that group, International Software Product Management Association. They have body of knowledge more specific to software industry. And there is a third body of knowledge, which is a product marketing body of knowledge,
Hmm.
which combines really a product manager and product marketing, but it doesn't really give a clear perspective, distinct perspective, what product managers do versus product marketing manager. So we have all the different body of knowledge, but they do not really convey the clear roles and responsibilities. How, as a product manager, you should work within your diverse cross-functional environments. Specifically, if you are working in a large organization versus small organization, you are operating in an agile versus waterfall methodology. If you are handling AI products versus non-AI products, right? Those are different contextual factors, and even B2B versus B2C products, there are variations, right? It's a really tough job. If you don't know the contextual parameter of your organization, it's very difficult to understand what you are going to work on it. Like it's been 10 years I'm working with large companies. If I move to small companies, I should know what should be the roles I'm going to have. I remember when I joined a small company within MasterCard, I was doing like everything as a one product manager. It was an intensive job for me.
Hmm.
While in big organization that we had a lot of different departments doing a different research, different CX&D like a customer experience and design, different people for the different activities like a financial, we have pricing manager, but you won't find that in a small company. You end up doing all this work by yourself. So for any product manager, they need to know all these contextual parameters. And the good thing is there is a research done with all these different contextual factor. And what I did is put all things together, consolidated in one research to provide a better and clean perspective to all the product managers and leaders. These are the 19 activities and how each of the activities are impacted by this contextual parameter.
Very good.
So
It's a good
yeah,
setup.
yeah.
What's our first
So
one? I'm eager to hear this list.
yeah, I mean, it's a long list still, unfortunately, but I don't think so we'll be able to cover all of
That's
the
okay.
big list, but still we'll be going through the key activities, if you like. And the first one
Yeah,
I
let's
would
talk about what we
start with
can. Yeah. Start where you want. Maybe what you see is, I don't know if there's any ranking here, but just wherever you want. And maybe I can ask you for a resource later, or we can point people to the list of 19 if as you're working on this.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, first let's start with the logical flow, starting from the problem space and how we can go to the
Okay.
actually market launch phase. So very first and my favorite activity is market research. So, or it's also called a market analysis. And this is where I call it is a problem space because what you do is really validate your problem. It really
Hmm.
exists. Customers do care with the problem. And it is very intensive activities, but the key to success for your product. If as a product manager, you should be spending more and more time in this activity and more time you come up with a solid problem, then you have an easy path forward.
Hmm.
I remember just to after in my PhD journey, I spent just 1 year to understand the problem statement, just 4 lines of problem statement. Because
I made at least 100 revisions, literally, to mine. Yes, I remember this pain.
yeah,
And
because
we
first
understand
time,
why that happens, right? There's lots of things we have to try to connect to, and the
yeah,
literature is evolving
exactly.
and all kinds of things.
Exactly. So that's why this is my favorite activity, because if you do intense research in this activity, come up with a good problem, inform the problem, right? Then you can do a better solution on that problem, and then customers will be willing to pay for this, right?
Hmm.
And there are a lot of variations within this activity. As a large company, we have different departments available to perform the research, to
Right.
validate the problem. We have different agencies available. We have different partnerships with the different people. But when you go to the small organization, you may not find all these different departments because they don't have a budget, right? So you end up doing all this work for yourself. And that's one of the reasons the small companies are not investing enough in research, right? Because they don't have enough budget. But I would say that even if you're a small company, this is going to be your key to success. Please do invest in the market research and then come up with a new innovation and innovative products.
Absolutely.
Uh,
The interesting thing I just wanted to bring up with you, Nishant, was the large organizations, so MasterCard certainly applies, right? The large organizations. I often find, even though they have the research capabilities, I find there's pockets of groups, like maybe strategic marketing, if a large company has such a thing, of doing really helpful customer research, and it's not getting into the hands of the product managers who need it. Right? That's another struggle with the large organization and the market research. We're not always getting the great outcomes of the research going on because we don't know about it.
That's spot on, actually. And that's a struggle I'm going through too. And I think that's a challenge within all large organization.
Hmm.
And it's a part of a challenge within the cross-functional collaboration, right? Because in large organization, most of the time you're spending with talking to people. And if you do not have a effective communication skill, you will not have enough insight on what you are doing and what others are doing. So that's very critical to you stay together and you understand what is the clear message you want to pass to each other, right? But yeah, to your point, that's a challenge within the large organization. And I think in the beginning, I didn't say that, but for each of these activities, I will also talk a little bit about wherever is applicable, how it is impacted by the contextual factor I was referring initially in the discussion, right? Whether it's agile versus waterfall, or it's AI-based products, or if it's B2B versus B2C products, or it is large versus small organization,
Okay.
right? So with the market research, one of the key benefits of AI, specifically generative AI, we have seen a lot of good impacts on the secondary research. So the tools like the Perplexity AI or the ChatGPT, those tools are immensely helpful for the secondary research, and everyone should use those tools to perform those kind of research. But where these tools cannot help is in the primary research, like customer interviews. So that is still the essential job as a product manager, to go with the customer research, customer interviews, and get the data and get the informed problem statements in the market research phase. So that's the first activity. The second activity is more, once we are done with the problem space, we will move to the solution space. I call identify solution.
Hmm.
Now, this is a very simple activity in terms of it doesn't have a lot of impact on the contextual factor, because regardless of where you are working, you have to identify a solution, whether in terms of the concept or the prototypes, or in a different way. Basically, you validate your solution with the customers, right? So there is not much enough on this activity. It's very straightforward. So moving to the next is positioning your product, right? Basically, once you have problem defined, you have high level solution defined. Now that's the time you create your first time product vision. Now this is very interesting. When I joined the product first time and I brought my idea to my leadership, I came up with the vision first time without market research. And I feel it's really a biggest mistake in my idea. You cannot have a vision in the first place. The very first step is You have to understand the market space, understand the problem, whether it's a feasible to implement, and then you come up with your vision.
Hmm.
So after the problem solution, you come up with the actually defining the vision with little bit of product features, how it's going to deliver the value proposition, little bit of go to market strategy, and all this concise document you can come up with to position your product, basically what you have validated with the customers.
Hmm.
And again, this
Let me
activity
ask you
is,
just to follow up on
yeah,
that. So we're creating the product vision. I think we're on the third step now, or third, not the step per se, but I guess it is third step, third characteristic too. So in that positioning, we're positioning that vision primarily for an internal audience at this point. It sounds like, to get support for your idea, to get momentum, to see action taken on what you've come up with as a problem to address and a possible solution. Or are you thinking about this
that's
positioning
that's
for an external audience as well?
that's very good question. So this is internal purpose only, but I know, like in company like Amazon, they also have like a different way of working, like they call it the work backwards or something like
Right. Yeah.
that.
There's
So
a
in the very
six-page memo.
beginning of the, yeah, problem, you pitch your to the external
Right.
customers also to get their feedback, and it's good. So in some cases, even Mastercard does this too
Hmm.
in terms of big strategic products. So it makes sense to get the market feedback. So yeah, I mean, it could be external facing in that case if you would like to quickly validate with the market reaction, right? How you are going to position your product and what is the market reaction to those customers. So it could be external actually. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And this is the first step of starting your product documentation, right? Because you are now defining the high level product strategy, vision, and all those different high level features, right? Now, if you think about the agile methodology, which is quite popular in software industries, right? We write a lot of product requirement documentation, and sometimes it is within the tool like a Jira, right, where you write a high level epic features and stories. So for all this detailed tactical level of breakdown, this is going to be a base document for all those things. So that's about the positioning and definition, or you can also say creating a vision document as a third activity. Now, Gen AI can definitely help here. Again, if you want to write PR days, it can enhance your PR days. It can also
Hmm.
suggest some features based on the competitive product. So it can also provide great narrative to your to overall stories. So that was about the third activity. Next, moving to once you have the high level, the positioning in place, then you are really moving to now more action oriented activities, which is the road mapping. Now you start developing a high level roadmap to communicate to the customers when the actual product features will be available, right? And if it's agile, then it could be like a flexible roadmaps. In agile, usually we develop a 3 months of concrete roadmaps, 6 months of like mid level of confidence, and like 9 months of like a low level of confidence, because in agile it keeps changing based on the market demands and customer demands and based on the priorities. But versus if you're operating in a waterfall model, it has a quite solid roadmap. It has a good predictable roadmap which can be communicatable to customers. So it has an advantage on that sense if you're in waterfall, but it doesn't have the flexibility of change. So that's a difference between agile and waterfall. Uh, it has also a little bit difference if you're working in a B2B versus B2C products, right? In a B2B products, like Mastercard mostly has a B2B products, and we don't have that kind of frequent releases, right? And that little bit conflicts against agile principles, because in agile usually you have frequent releases, right?
Hmm.
But in B2B, where you are focused on the core features, you don't need frequent releases, because once you are delivered jobs to be done, then that's and customers happy. You just don't keep delivering on the minor UI UX fixes and all those things which might spoil the actually core features. So that's another aspect. I always try to deliver that message to PMs who works in agile. You also have to consider whether you are dealing with the B2B customers or the B2C customers, right? B2C customers are more inclined towards the user experience as well. So it makes sense you have frequent releases to fix those minor bugs on the UI to enhance the user experience, right? So those kind of differences is something we have to take care during this activity. Next, we can talk about requirement engineering. So once you have road mapping done, now this is the time you really talk to your engineering team on how you are going to develop the high level goals. You are going to break down high level goals into the agile stories and the features so developers can work. And this is where now actually agile product owner comes into the picture. So this is a place we have to understand the difference between the product owner and product manager role, right? And that has been a lot of confusion within the industry too. What the product manager does versus product owner does. So I will also a little bit talk about that before
Okay.
I deep dive into the product requirements engineering.
Hmm.
So before Agile came in 2001, everything was about the product management, right? And there was nothing like a product owner. So in 2001, when the Agile Manifesto was introduced, they really introduced a product owner to execute the actually product development work, right? And when they initiated 2001 with the Scrum methodology, they really did not talk about the product manager at all. And
Hmm.
that was a big problem because the idea was to the Scrum is only small scale team which works with a one small product, right? And over there you really don't see a need of product manager. Imagine you are a startup company, right, where you don't need product manager because mostly work is done by the co-founders and then directly engineers who develops the things, right? And you need a product owner to transform the actual leadership message or the product message to the engineering level, right? So that's why they really developed the product owner role and not the product manager. And that's created a lot of confusion eventually. But if you look at the scale agile methodology like SAFe,
Hmm.
they have the product management role. So they have clear distinction between how product manager and product owner operates. So there is no confusion to all the product managers. Product owner is more specific to agile roles, which is more involved work with the development team, and product more manager is more about the outbound role, which works with the cross-functional teams and the market facing teams. And these two managers works together to deliver the actual value. It is also observed that in small companies there are no two different roles, so one PM has to work both the work, even the
One
outfacing
person
out.
doing both
Yeah,
responsibilities.
one person
Right.
has to do both the work. And with the generative AI, what I have seen recently is there is a trend, even with the larger companies, these roles are getting consolidated
Hmm.
because Gen AI is optimizing PM's work,
Hmm.
like writing PRDs, right? So now you really don't require two different people, even in the large companies. So now it's going to be one people and one your Gen assistant.
Yeah, a lot of us are having our AI assistants with us these days.
Yeah,
The
yeah. So now
there's always
it's
been
again,
I was gonna say there's always been some tension there because the product manager is thought of as more externally focused typically, and the product owner is more internally focused with their customer really being the
yeah,
engineer. And that creates another gap, right, and an opportunity for communication problems between the two. And so some organizations try to solve that and say, well, they need to be the same person, right? We just need to overload them and make them the same person. And that's often really difficult to accomplish and do good at both of those. But when they're separate,
that's
that's the
so
problem,
true.
right? So now maybe AI can fill in some of those gaps and maybe we can figure out a way to be effective facing externally and internally with some AI help.
That is so true. So true. Yeah, totally agree. Spot on. Okay, so next is so we did the road mapping, requirement engineering, then there is a detailed requirement engineering in one of my activities, but which is we are not going to talk about that activity because it's more about on the story level when you actually develop the story. So skipping to the next, we can talk about the product verification, which is more
Mhm.
about verifying your product, right? And here, the only contextual factor is agile versus waterfall, right? Now, being in the software industry in last actually 10 years, I haven't worked on waterfall. And that's why I haven't heard that term UAT. If you remember that term, it's quite an old term, user acceptance testing.
Mm,
Now, I literally don't heard about that term at all in software, because in Agile, we don't go with the UAT at all, because in Agile, you actually validate the stories with the customers during the development time itself. It's called the
hmm
sprint validation, right? So there is no qualifying stage itself. It's just when you develop in a sprint, every sprint, you include customers,
hmm
give the sprint demo, and you get the sign up on the story level. So we don't hear like developing all things at once and then finally
Right.
deliver to customer for the verification. So
And
that's
finding out
that's
at
very
that point what
interesting.
you got wrong. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember I was talking to a person who works in the physical products industry, like manufacturing industry, and they really
hmm
don't apply agile principles a lot, right? Because in physical products, you cannot really deliver a physical product in pieces, right? So it's morely you follow the still a sequential process like waterfall, but they are still working on how to implement agile in those kind of environments, what I heard, but I really don't have enough insight how does it work in actually in a physical product world like a manufacturing.
Yeah,
So
we've
that's
talked
very
about it a
interesting.
little bit on the podcast. It has been a bit of time now, but I know there's more and more an effort, regardless of what the domain is, of trying to do execution in sprints. It's like if we're doing physical work, physical products, we might be working in prototyping sprints that are time boxed and see what we learn out of each one of those cycles until we have to freeze for manufacturing. Trying to bring in some of the same concepts, but yeah, we can't, we don't have the luxury of being able to add to it after manufacturing tooling gets put in place.
Awesome. Awesome. Nice. Nice. And just please keep me on time because I will have a lot of
Yeah,
activities
I
to
know there's a
cover.
lot. Maybe we can get through another one or two. We're doing okay.
Okay, okay. Okay, if you have one or two, I will go another my one of my favorite activities, which is customer insight.
Mm,
So usually, historically, we used to engage customer very few times in the entire innovation process, right? It could be early in the process, like a problem validation or maybe a solution validation. Or in waterfall, we used to involve the, like a requirement gathering to like direct product verification, like in UAT, right? But the trend right now is like customers are involved continuously at each of the innovation process stage. Imagine you are in the market space, you are engaging customers for to validate the problem, right? In the solution space, you are interacting with customer to validate the solution, right? In the development phase, you are
hmm
making sure that your value is really getting delivered and customer is realizing the value, right? And finally, in the production, right, they see the whole product and they see the entire value getting delivered, and you get again customer feedback to see if you are you happy with the product, all those surveys and all those different things, and then continuous enhancements to the product. It keeps going, especially in the software world, right? So that's the customer insight is throughout the entire life cycle and not specific life cycle. So the message to all the PMs: stay close to customer as much as possible
hmm
and as early as in the process from the ideation. That's the key to success.
Really good advice.
Um, yeah, and the one more activity I would go with the financial analysis. That's a tough one. A tough one because not I have seen not a lot of product managers creating a business case, especially if you talk about the small companies. The business case are quite sensitive. It is handled by the co-founders or the CEO of the companies because they have only one or two PMs and they don't really give a financial business case to them because they have only one product, right? Like a startup. So it's quite confidential. So PM really doesn't have to worry about those kind of stuff in small companies. But in large companies, it's a big deal for PMs.
hmm
I think after cross-functional collaboration, this could be one of the biggest activities to manage the entire financial business case, which includes the pricing of the product itself is a big activity, and calculating the costing from the different departments like engineering, marketing, sales. It's another big job to develop a full-fledged business case. But what we have seen is it's not something a one-time job. It's again a continuous activity throughout the innovation process or the product life cycle. You start business case again early in the process. First, you start with identifying the revenue early in the process, right? Like a total addressable market size, right? Based on that, you identify the pricing, revenue. Then you come to the development team, you identify the costing. So your business case is evolving now. You are not just starting and finishing the business case in specific stage of the process, right? It's evolving slowly
Hmm.
as you go into the process. And finally, when you go to the market test, you are actually validating your business case, right? It's still not a concrete. It's something you made is it's not going to work. You said like it's going to generate 100 million revenue. It's not going to generate that much in reality. When you go to market test, you again refine your business case to see if it's really delivering that value, what was projected. And finally, if it does, you commercialize the project. So it's again evolving thing. So it's a continuous activity.
Right. Yeah, as we're getting more information throughout the project, getting perhaps more confidence from customer research, customer involvement, and changing our forecast as appropriate. And sometimes we have the opposite problem of what you described. Sometimes it takes off like a wildfire, and we're not prepared to respond to the demand, and we have to figure that problem out as well.
Yeah,
So
spot on.
excellent. Okay, so we did get through 19. We got through quite a few, which is really helpful. This would be a good time to ask if I'm making a guess that you're probably working on this as part of your PhD work as well. Is that true?
Yes, yes. So this was actually my first article in PhD to do the systematic review of roles and responsibility
Okay.
of product
And
manager.
that's what I was wondering about. It
So
was if there's an article available we can point people to already.
it is available. So it's you can visit Google Scholar, my profile. I have two articles. One is on the evolving roles and responsibility of a product manager, and the second article I published how generative AI is impacting or helping the business transformation and the product management in general.
Okay.
And right now I'm working on a third article, which is on the how AI is changing the overall product management landscape. So that's still work in progress.
Very good. And listeners, we'll make sure we have those links for you in the show notes, and you'll find that information at productmasterynow.com/519. Originally, this was scheduled for publishing as 522, and I thought, ooh, there's 19 elements here for the software product manager responsibilities. I'm going to have to jostle things a little bit to make it 519. So 519 is the episode number for this. So many more things we could talk about, but we'll point listeners to the resources. I have to go check out those articles as well so I can get all 19 areas under my belt and see what I think of them. So far, I'm tracking with you on what we covered. I'm curious about the other ones and see how they match up with what a key takeaway. I am going to ask you for an innovation quote in a moment. We love innovation quotes. Listeners do as well. But a key takeaway from what you shared is that importance of the customer research, the market research, and then seeing incorporating that customer insights throughout the whole process, right? Making sure we're staying close to the customer, doing the right thing. That is in the PDMA body of knowledge, one of the 7 knowledge areas for what I call product mastery, this area of customer and market research. If you want to explore all 7 areas, I put together a system called the Rapid Product Mastery Experience, the RPM experience, and it really builds upon your existing knowledge and skills and allows you to earn professional certification at the same time through PDMA, that Product Development and Management Association that's been around for about 50 years now, helping us product managers and innovators. It is the training that really helps you have greater success and helps you prepare for your next step of your career. And if you're serious about being a professional product manager or a product innovator, then this really does help. It is the information that will help carry your career forward and is what is empowering product leaders and organizations as well. And if you happen to be a product VP, then think about how this can help empower your product managers and other product professionals that are working for you. It's a great way to get everyone on the same page, to inspire them, to help them build their confidence. And we build a lot of collaboration at the same time as we do it together as a group. So if you want to check that out, if that sounds good to you, go to productmasterynow.com and you'll find out more information about the training options available and how they might work for you. That's productmasterynow.com. Okay, back to a quote. So, what do you have for us that is a good, inspiring innovation quote? I'm setting the bar high here. And what does it mean to you?
No, that makes me nervous because innovation is
I have confidence.
okay. Yeah, to me, innovation is a dynamic process, I would say dynamic because it's not a static process you can follow like step ABC. It
Hmm.
has to adapt based on your contextual factors. Just an example, let's say you are in the research phase, right? Now, if you have problem statement, if it is already informed problem statement, validated problem statement, then you don't have to really perform a research on that. But if it is not, then you have to do the primary research on that, right? So it is a dynamic nature, right? So I say it's a dynamic process that applies scientific thinking. The scientific, because I'm a PhD candidate, I love the methods, the way
Hmm.
we do the research. So even it is a process, it has to be a logical, it has to be scientific in nature. So it is a dynamic process that applies scientific thinking to transform customer problems into valuable business opportunities. So that's my goal.
Fantastic. I like the quote. I do think of innovation, product innovation, as a scientific process with a lot of art involved as well, in part because it is dynamic and we have to judge the situation and adapt based on what we're learning as we go through it. So I like that very much. Thank you, Nishant. How can people find out more about you? Already we know that we'll have links in the show notes here for the articles that you've written, but what else do you want to share in terms of people that might want to reach out to you or any other resources you want to share?
Uh, I would, yeah, definitely the link, what we will be sharing, that's helpful to know about all my research I'm doing as a PhD journey. But if I would have to pass a key message to everyone is the roles and responsibilities of product managers, right? That's my key theme as a research. So don't get frustrated or stressed with the work. PM is a challenging job, but if you don't know your roles and responsibilities, it makes more challenging. So whether if you are product managers, VPs, leaders, innovators, just group together, go through those 19 activities, or not necessarily 19 activities, whatever framework you follow within your organization, take that on the desk, group together and decide who is going to do what,
Mm.
or use your strength and just complete the entire the set. Don't worry anything else.
That's very good. It's a great takeaway for us. Product management is a fantastic role. It's one that has a lot of influence in organizations. We get to be close to the customer. We get to be close to the solution. And it's a great role, but it's also, as you said, very demanding. Having clarity in what the responsibilities are and what should be doing as well is a great takeaway for us. So appreciate you underscoring that and being part of this to start sharing the 19 elements of software product management. And we'll provide the link so people can find out more.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us today, Nishant.
Thank you so much, Chad, for having me on your fantastic show.
And once again, listeners, if you want to find what we write up as show notes, the article version of this, including the links to the the articles that will be available on Google Scholar, simply go to productmasterynow.com/519, as there were 9 elements that we were trying to get through, at least a good part of them. So also, if you want to see the YouTube version of this, and in the future, catch us on YouTube, I appreciate you subscribing to our channel. Simply go to YouTube and do a search for Product Mastery Now, and you'll come across it. As always, keep innovating.
Thank you for listening to Product Mastery Now, where product leaders and managers gain product mastery through practical knowledge, influence, and confidence. By listening, you are becoming a product master, creating products customers love. Find additional resources at productmasterynow.com. Keep innovating.